In this video, I've got the latest news on the North Coast 500 voluntary motorhome scheme that has been an unmitigated disaster, the motorhome that was vandalised enough to possibly kill someone, and not one but two motorhomes are almost washed out to sea from the same beach. Welcome your faces back to Motorhome and Campervan news. I'm Ads, thank you very much for joining me. If you're interested in getting news about motorhoming, campervanning or caravanning, then consider subscribing. And feel free to use the email in the video description to send me news that I may have missed. Motorhome News is brought to you in association with Caravan Radio, radio for the caravan and motorhome community. Listen online at caravanradio.co.uk 24 hours a day or scan this code. The Camping and Caravanning Club has announced it will be hitting the brakes on participating in two major upcoming events. The Motorhome and Caravan Show, which is on the 14th to the 19th of October, and the Caravan, Camping and Motorhome Show, which is on the 17th to the 22nd of February next year, both held at the NEC in Birmingham. In a statement, the club said, "As we head into our 125th anniversary year, we want to fully focus on building excitement and buzz around this exceptional milestone. It will be a very exciting time for the club and we want to make it a truly celebratory occasion." So while the club won't be pitching up at the NEC, rest assured they're just saving their tent pegs for an even bigger party. East Suffolk Council has introduced an experimental traffic regulation order for Undercliffe Road East in Felixstowe, banning motorhomes and campervans from parking on the seafront. The order will be adding car-only parking bays, and if it is successful, then it will make it permanent. If you park along this section of the Undercliffe Road East, then you could be at risk of having your motorhome or campervan towed away. Alternative parking for larger vehicles will be available at Manor Terrace, Garrison Lane and Gulf Road, where overnight parking will be permitted for a maximum of 3 days with no return within 7 days. Some people love the idea of staying away in their motorhome for weeks on end, exploring new places and experiencing different foods and cultures. Some do it full time. However, a 49-year-old woman from Storrington in West Sussex has been forced to sleep in her motorhome outside her house for months. She moved into the property, which is managed by a housing association, in September 2023 with her 4 kids. But it has turned into her own personal hell. As she said, she has been faced with multiple issues, including mould, lack of space and water problems. Shortly after she moved in, she discovered a gas leak, and the hot water can instantly scald them when they're taking a shower without warning. But the main problem is that she suffers from sciatica and has a slipped disc. It has forced her to sleep in her motorhome outside her house because she is scared of her own safety while going up and down the stairs. She said, "It's very embarrassing for me. To come out in front of my neighbours in the morning in my dressing gown is an embarrassment." Well, it's not that embarrassing, is it? People do it all the time. I've seen loads of people walking across a campsite in their dressing gown off to the facility block to have a shower, and they ain't even running. In all seriousness though, I hope she gets better and gets her house sorted out. A major holiday park operator has gone into administration and is seeking a new buyer while they continue to trade. Celtic Holiday Parks operate 3 luxury holiday parks in Pembrokeshire, South Wales. These are Noble Court Holiday Park, Meadow House Holiday Park and Croft Country Park. Wow, that is so many holiday parks. Oh, I said it again. Over the last 2 decades, the company has invested approximately £6 million into expanding and upgrading its sites, offering a mix of static caravans, luxury lodges, glamping pods and touring and camping pitches. The parks have earned multiple awards, including Luxury Accommodation Provider of the Year and the Best Caravan and Camping Parks in Pembrokeshire. Celtic Holiday Parks was established in 2003 by Managing Director Hugh Pendleton as a family-run venture. Pendleton was honoured in 2022 for his outstanding contribution to the UK tourism industry. The administrators said, We are continuing to trade the company's business while a buyer is sought, and the company's employees have been retained to support this strategy. We confirm that unless customers are contacted and advised otherwise, their bookings will go ahead and the access to the parks will continue as normal. Let's hope they find a buyer. Last summer in Brighton, yes, I know it sounds like old news, but bear with me. Last summer in Brighton, a motorhome rolled onto the Regency Square Green, parked up illegally like it owned the place and settled in for the weekend. And then it did it again. And again. The square is a public green in the middle of town next to the seafront, surrounded by 4-storey Victorian townhouses. Over the course of 6 summer weeks, the same motorhome returned 3 more times, arriving Fridays and leaving on Sundays, even after being told that they can't park there by residents and Brighton and Hove Council. The council issued an enforcement notice and the motorhome moved on, only for it to come back the following Friday. From various photographs, the motorhome looks like a £120,000 Auto Trail Frontier Comanche, which is almost 9 metres long and has 6 wheels. The owners treated the public green as a campsite, sitting outside with their tables and chairs, enjoying the summer sun, and oblivious to residents walking through their pitch. But that was last year. This year, yep, you guessed it, the motorhome is back, parked up in the same spot. The residents are really frustrated, saying all councillors can do is advise us. They are really sympathetic but cannot help directly. Despite some enforcement notices being issued, the vehicle continues to return. I'm not entirely sure why the police haven't got involved. Maybe it's a civil matter. For now, it seems the Regency Square motorhome has become something of a seasonal fixture, like seagulls, deck chairs and the smell of chips on the breeze. Only this one brings its own patio furniture, ignores enforcement notices and never pays for parking. A couple from Falmouth has had their motorhome's brakes vandalised while it was parked legally down a street near to their home. Caitlin and Shane would normally park their motorhome next to their house, but due to building works, they've had to have a skip on their drive. They were planning on visiting Godrevy in Cornwall to celebrate Caitlin's mother, who had unexpectedly died the previous year. Godrevy was her favourite place. But collecting the motorhome for an MOT, Caitlin noticed a flat tyre due to a screw in it. She pumped it up and dropped it off at the garage. After the test, the MOT inspector asked her if he'd been involved in the collision because he had found the brake lines were all twisted and had failed the MOT to the risk of the brakes failing. She agreed to get them repaired and afterwards went to get some fuel, but found the keyhole for the fuel cap had been glued up with super glue. She said, "It was then that I started to piece together what had happened, that the brake lines, the petrol cap and the screw in the tyre meant that someone made a deliberate attempt not only to immobilise the vehicle, but to also put people at risk. There was lots of kids' stuff and a child seat in the van. We even left the blind open so people could see that it wasn't being lived in. We're just completely broken by it. It's really demoralising, really upsetting, and beyond that, I was scared. Because if I hadn't been taking it to the MOT that day, we wouldn't have known. If they were that upset about it, couldn't they have just left a note?" The police told them that they wouldn't investigate because there was no CCTV and there has been no similar incidents in the area. Was this hate related, or maybe jealousy, or maybe you know of someone who's had their motorhome vandalised? Either way, let us know your thoughts in the doobly-doo. In the space of a week, 2 motorhomes were caught by the tide at the notorious Black Rock Sands in Gwynedd, North Wales. This beautiful expansive beach near Porthmadog allows vehicles to park directly on the sand. But despite prominent warning signs about fast-flowing tides and soft sand, some still venture a little too far, with soggy consequences. The first motorhome to meet the sea was an off-road VW campervan. The waves crept up past the wheels and began battering the vehicle as its owners watched helplessly, waiting for help. The full extent of the damage is unknown, but it was reportedly saved thanks to having an air intake snorkel fitted, possibly the most useful and ironic accessory of the day. Just 5 days later, a second, more unfortunate vehicle fell victim. a £70,000 2022 roller team Zafora Sport. This time the waves reached the side windows, even covering the wing mirrors. In several videos circulating online, the motorhome can actually be seen bobbing. Yes, bobbing up and down with the incoming tide, like a very expensive bath toy. Adding to the irony, the graphics down the side of the Zafora include words like racing, rock climbing and relax, but also rowing and rafting. It's safe to say that while there may have been some rowing and rafting involved, no one was particularly relaxed. The motorhome was eventually rescued the following day after it had possibly weathered 2 more high tides. A group of jet skiers using the beach at the time pitched in and helped drag it free. Several hours later, however, the waves returned, surrounding the vehicle once more. It had to be pulled out a second time by a tractor due to it being stuck in the sand. Parking on the beach costs £8 for a car and £16 for a motorhome. Although after 2 rescues, we're hoping the second motorhome gets a free coffee or their loyalty card stamped. The Scottish Government has confirmed it has no plans in introducing a mandatory campervan tax for tourists visiting the North Coast 500 route, but also said that the Highland Council retains the flexibility to explore voluntary contribution schemes as part of their visitor levy development. The Deputy First Minister, Kate Forbes, met with the Highland Council to discuss building on the voluntary Highland campervan and motorhome scheme. The voluntary scheme costs £40 for 7 days and allows you to stay overnight for free at 12 council-run car parks on a first-come, first-served basis. The initial goal for the scheme was to raise £500,000, but towards the end of the first year, the council revised that to £20,000. It's a big drop. However, figures released by the Highland Council show that a total of almost £8,000 was earned from passes sold in the first year, meaning only around 200 passes were purchased. One councillor said, "It was never going to work. It's not what our communities wanted. It's been an unmitigated disaster." Another councillor said, "It's been a total flop." Forbes suggested that providing good facilities could create advantages for both campervan users and the council. A study by Glasgow Caledonian University found the NC 500 route has generated £22 million annually and has created around 200 full-time jobs. However, the popularity of the NC 500 has caused tensions between locals and tourists, with complaints about road congestion, illegal dumping of waste and illegal parking by motorhome owners. The Highland Council are also considering adding a 5% tourist tax to overnight accommodation, such as hotels, B&Bs and campsites. They say that this could annually generate £10 million. And it sounds like they're still considering including motorhomes not using campsites. As Forbes said, there are only 5 roads in and out of the Highlands, so it can't be that difficult to figure out who is travelling in, who is travelling out, and how you can work with people at that point to look at whether a financial contribution can be made. Touring Scotland in a campervan or motorhome could be a huge cash cow for Scottish tourism. I think they'll find a way to tax them in the future. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the doobly-doo. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Don't forget to hit the like button, and if you don't want to miss the next exciting motorhome news episode, then hit the subscribe button and to get future updates. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.